everybody. Welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson, and today we're going to talk about something that I think is relevant and timely. It's all about cash flow. Cash flow is king, my friends, and you got to start thinking about it more so now than ever, because in this weird market, you're going to want assets that provide lots of cash flow. And so my guest is going to be talking about an asset class that is different from apartments, and I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. But before we get to that, a word from our sponsors. Are you ready to take your multifamily game to the next level and learn the amazing results of living the cash flow life? Apartment investing can change your life. I know for a fact it's changed mine, and I would like to share my extraordinary journey with you and the clues I've learned along the way by giving you my book, Copy Your Way to Success, for free. So text the word book, B-O-O-K, to 480-500-1127. Again, that's the word book, B-O-O-K, to 480-500-1127. And my team will ship it to you absolutely free as a way to say thank you for listening to this podcast. And remember, your paradise is possible. All right, guys, we're back. So listen, I'm so excited about this guest. We had a really good, just the ins out, the good, bad, and the ugly of mobile home investing. So Andrew Keel is going to come and talk about how he's doing it, how he finds his deals, how he's raised private money for it, and really the sentiment of it. And really, it really is fundamentally sound, his business plan. So guys, if you're looking for a different asset class to maybe kind of sprinkle into, this could be your next one. So let's get into it. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Super excited to talk about that. We haven't talked about this in a while. And this is in this day and age of like changing marketplaces and everything that's been going on with multifamily. I thought it was a great opportunity to bring someone else on the show that has a kind of a different niche. And for you, that is mobile home parks. And I would love for you, before we get into that though, just give a brief, let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew Keel. My company name is Keel Team Real Estate Investments. We focus on mobile home parks, buying from mom and pops throughout, secondary markets, and in value add, improving them and making them better. We have 2,500 lots, give or take, and 34 communities, mobile home communities now. And we're growing. We're cash flow centric and looking to help people diversify outside of Wall Street.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too, and you're doing that with syndicating it, which is the Wall Street piece. But I just think right now, like in a world of where everybody that's in apartments, at least a lot of friends that I know, everybody's struggling right now. It's like just stay alive to 25, right?
I've heard that.
And yet, when you're cash flow heavy, those things don't seem to matter as much, right? And I think that is what the mobile home park is. Now, I would love for you to, we'll go into detail of the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? But first of all, how did you get into it?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. I started around Central Florida, flipping houses, and through a yellow letter that I mailed out to motivated sellers, probate, divorce, you name it. Yep. Through a yellow letter I mailed out, someone reached out and had 2 mobile homes up in Ocala, which is just north of where I live in Orlando. And I went up, and it was a very motivated seller. They just wanted $2,200 cash for 2 mobile homes with titles in hand. I mean, these are vinyl sided, shingle roof mobile homes. I didn't know what to do, but I just knew that it had to cost way more to build these things than that. So I bought them and came home and got on YouTube and found a guy named Lonnie Scruggs who wrote a book called Deals on Wheels. And he did this whole program on buying mobile homes, fixing them up, and then selling them on contract to an end buyer out of existing parks. So that's what I did with these 2, bought them both for $2,200 and then sold them individually for $2,500 down and $250 a month, $250 a month for 5 years. And I was like sold at that point. I was like, this is great. Why am I flipping houses, pulling my hair out? So I did 19 more of those Lonnie deals and then met the park owner who kind of took me under his wing and basically taught me syndication and how to like buy the whole park instead of just doing these individual Lonnie deals. So I just went all in and like, went to all the seminars and everything to learn how to syndicate mobile home parks back in 2015. Didn't buy my first park until 2017. And since then, it's just been my sole focus.
Oh, wow. So, it's funny. I would love that 2 years of educating. And I think sometimes people forget about this part of the lesson is that a lot of times when you're trying something new, you just don't jump in. You've got to get your feet wet and start understanding the language, the knowledge, right? 2 years going to seminars, courses, events, educating, right?
Yeah. Looking back, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I was talking to brokers, but I was saying things disqualifying myself because I didn't know. And now I talk to those.
The game. Yeah.
I wasn't in the game yet, right? I was learning all that, but now I talk to those brokers and it's a much different conversation.
It's instantaneous, the kind of conversation you can have now, right?
Exactly.
Now, through that, though, you went through that, you finally got enough confidence to that point where you're like, okay, now I'm ready, right? Mm-hmm. And then you found a mentor, which I think is another key to success in any business, is having a mentor, have someone take you underneath their wing. Boy, that's so valuable. So when you started looking at the bigger complexes, raising money, that's usually a big falling point for a lot of people. I mean, because now we're not talking about 20,000 or, maybe 100,000. It could be $500,000 to $1 million.
Sure. Yeah, that was the easiest part, believe it or not. At these seminars, I was getting business cards and I got super lucky, Corey. I sat next to a guy at the MHU boot camp who worked at Goldman Sachs in New York at the time. And he said, hey, dude, I'm really into these mobile home parks. I don't have the time to do the active operating myself, but I really like the thesis. I like the model. And if you're going to go out and do this and find the deals and put them together, like I could be the money partner. So my first 5 mobile home parks I bought with this gentleman who took a huge risk on me, just from sitting next to me at a seminar. And he basically, gave me a check for $5 million. We went and bought those first 5 and they were all home runs. And then since then, friends and family have wanted to invest with me. And, it's just grown, it's been wonderful.
It's crazy how money snowballs, right?
It does.
It really does. It really starts to find its way and be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you did that. But it's funny. It's the first money that's the hardest. And so you actually shortcutted that amazingly well.
Oh, and I did have struggles too. Like I went first before I went to this guy. I went to one of the wealthiest guys my family knows who coached me little league baseball and basketball. And I'll never forget when I had my whole business plan I put together, my underwriting. I thought I was hot stuff. And I went to lunch with him and I started pitching him. And he's like, Andrew, hey, I love you like you're my own son, but there's no way in hell that I'm investing in a trailer park with you. That's what he said. It was just the stigma that caught him off guard. And
a trailer park?
Yeah, he didn't even look at the numbers. And the numbers ended up being a home run deal, but it was just the stigma of, mobile home park investing that got it.
So let's talk about the stigma. So what the stigma is, and then what's your reality?
Yeah, I think people think of, 8 Mile and cops, and they see these pictures after a hurricane comes through and they just think, oh, that's mobile home park living. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. There are, just like in apartments, there are some slumlords out there that run these things poorly. And then there's also other operators that run their apartments and mobile home parks really, really well. And I think for mobile home parks, it's kind of easy to just kind of clump all those together and say, oh, they're just tin cans and they're just a tornado away. Some of the new mobile homes that they're building nowadays, Corey, are safer than stick-built homes. And they are extremely nice and, so much more efficient.
And they're affordable for everybody. So it reaches a group of people that are not going to be reached any other way. And so,
exactly.
But they still want the same thing that I think everybody wants, which is clean, safe, disciplined living.
Exactly.
Right? No matter what community. I mean, that's a C-class apartment versus an A-class. They all still want the same thing. I want to come in at night and not have to worry about stuff.
Exactly. No,
right?
that's 100%.
And it's
And going back,
all dependent upon the operator.
that's exactly right. Yeah. And going back to the good, bad, and the ugly, yeah, it is affordable housing that we're dealing with. We focus on all age communities. We want the tenants to own their homes, so they're just paying for the dirt underneath of it.
Yeah.
And that gives us a lot of safety, because when they own their homes, they tend to take care of it more, and they're not going to find anything cheaper. $300 a month for lot rent is very affordable. So that's
I grew up in a
obviously
small town, right? And trailer parks were everywhere, right? So I grew up in a town like 20,000 people, and it's just like everybody's got, and there's some one of the outlying trailer parks. You're like, yeah, that's where the meth's at, right? But
Sure.
then there's like 3 or 4 like ones that are closer to, and they were really ran nicely, and everybody had nice cars. They had nice, I mean, and most of them did own their trailer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless something happened, and then they would sell it to the owner of the trailer park,
Yeah.
right? And then you would go out and probably resell it or refinance or offer terms, because you want someone that's the pride of ownership is everything, right?
That's a huge part of it, Corey, because when they own that home, I mean, they won't leave because it's so affordable. They're paying $300 a month to.
Yeah, the thought to go somewhere else is like, wait a second, I don't want to spend $650 for that, and I'm already living great. I have more disposable cash to go do whatever I want.
Yeah, make repairs to their home and so forth. So
yeah,
it's an interesting model. I think that's the good, is there's such demand for affordable housing, and we're able to solve that by increasing the occupancy and offering affordable housing. Some of the bad, I think we touched on, mobile home parks. There's more being torn down every year than there are new ones being developed. That's like a key component to all of this, is that the supply of mobile home parks in the country is shrinking every year.
Yeah, not in my backyard.
Exactly. No one wants to, have a new mobile home park developed right behind their subdivision. And then also they're getting torn down, and big apartment multifamily complexes are being built where they are because it's zoned properly for multifamily. So it's a conundrum, but I think that at the end of the day, manufactured housing can be built for like half of what stick built on, site built housing can be built for. So it's definitely got to be brought up in the conversation of how to solve affordable housing.
Now, to find the owners, is it still broker relationships now that you're buying bigger communities, or is it direct mail?
Most of our leads come from cold calling, actually. So we
develop the list of all the target areas that you want, and then you start calling.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we have 8,000 parks that meet our criteria, and we call it a couple times a month. And we're just trying to network with those owners, stay in touch with them, build relationships, and be there when they want to sell, because it's a lot about timing with baby boomers.
All of it is, exactly. I mean, I wasn't going to sell one of my properties, but this guy kept on asking, and one day I was like, okay, I'll sell it. He gave me the price. It was right. And we didn't even have a broker involved. And I was like, beautiful.
Yeah. Makes it easier for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, but it's doing exactly what you're saying. That's the long game. Most people are not trying to play that game. And that's unfortunate, because it's short-sighted, right?
Yeah. It's more work, getting a deal from a broker where they kind of teed it up and they have the OM all function for you, versus going to an owner where you're getting choppy financials.
Yeah, he's like, hold on, I think I got this, but I'm not sure. You're like, that's what I want, right? That smells like money.
Yeah. The ones where we're buying the property from a mom and pop who's keeping their rent roll on a yellow pad of paper and answering the phones on a flip phone. Those are the ones we know we're making money walking in, because.
So you can go into those and just add systems and processes, right? A software, right, to manage that. I'm sure there's software for the industry. If not, what software do you use?
We use a couple different ones, but Rent Manager is the big one.
Okay, yeah, Rent Manager. Mm-hmm.
Specific, for the industry, and it's very popular.
Okay, perfect. So there's a software that you can help that allows probably people to pay on a portal or pay online, right?
Yep.
Happens all the time. They pay with their credit card. They put it there. It's done. Money shows up. Now, what about, so I always think about this. I'm going to ask, because I'm not in it, so I'm going to ask some rookie questions here probably. So you buy the park. Now, when you buy the park, you're really just buying the land that all the parks or all the units live under, unless maybe that park owner owns some of the units as well, right?
Yeah, typically there'll be some that like have for whatever reason the park owner owns, and then we're acquiring the business, which includes the land.
So he'll still own that, or will they try to give you everything?
Well, we typically get everything, the homes and the real estate, and then we'll take over whatever notes they have in process with the current tenants.
Okay, yeah. So if they've got any notes on any other, that's what you're taking over all those notes as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, is that just an added benefit? Like someone can't pay, right, their own house payment or mortgage payment on their building or their mobile home, right? And it ends up being bad. It goes bad. They get in default for whatever reason. I got to think that like the manufactured home doesn't want to get that and go pick it up. I don't think they do. Do they? Very rarely.
I mean, so if it's a brand new home and there's still a loan on it,
Yeah.
they would come and they could repossess it. But there's new systems now where the park owner is required to sign on the loan as well. So that
when a new one comes in,
like 21st Mortgage does that and some of the other ones. So you're on the note. So if the tenant defaults, you get 6 months to resell it. And then if you don't sell it in 6 months, then you have to start making the note payment and the home stays in the community, which is actually good for community owners because, it gives you time. It works with your business model and the flows of income.
Okay. And then I just think that happens probably more that it's probably not part of the business plan, but it is part of the business plan. I would think sometimes that happens, right? And I would think those would be good things or because to me, that's a motivated seller.
It is a motivated seller. I would say most of the time it's not brand new homes that are getting defaulted. It's more so like the older homes that they, for whatever, came into hard times. And then, if we have to evict them, we'll evict them. But then, if they own the home, it takes about another 30 days to evict the home and file for abandonment. And then we would get title to the home and then we could fix it up and then resell it. So,
okay, so it's kind of like, you have to get a title because it's a mobile home. It's a title.
Personal property. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Which is still faster than I would think that than going through a whole REO process.
Oh, much faster. Yeah. But I mean, it still has hiccups, where you need VIN numbers and the whole bit. But yeah, much faster.
Okay. So then you can get that. And from there, if that happens, do you go and renovate inside? Is that something?
Typically we will. Yeah. We'll renovate it, get it where it's because the better the quality it is and the better it is, like the better quality tenant you're going to get and the longer they're going to stay.
And you're just going to resell it on terms. Am I right?
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
And then you still get your lot rent too, which is your base.
Exactly. So typically when we sell a home, we'll sell it for $650 a month. And that's a home payment plus lot rent, which is about $300. And, in about 24 to 36 months, they'll own the home and just pay lot rent. And that's the golden ticket because once they own their home, the turnover on those units, I mean,
it just stays. And then it's just like that's kind of what you want, right? Well, you want at least a good mix of that, right?
We want all of ours to be tenant-owned homes.
Yeah.
That's what the financing, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the best debt in the space, they want tenant-owned homes, like less than 20% can be park-owned, but they want the majority to be tenant-owned homes because the reliability of the income.
Yep. Beautiful. That makes so much sense. Now, cash flow as to, and I would say I'm trying to look for a percentage difference, like on versus apartments or something like that. I'm not sure if you have that data or if you kind of know those statistics, but why mobile homes versus apartments?
Yeah, I would say that, first off, you're gonna go in at a higher cap rate, right? Just because of the asset class and kind of the stigma and the extra management. I mean, I'm sure in apartments, if you buy a C-grade apartment complex, you're going to have extra management. But in mobile home parks, it's different. There's and there's not really any good third-party property management companies that just are like on it, like that you can trust. Where in apartments, you can trust a local company that is, has a lot of units under their portfolio. But I would say the big benefit is the lower repairs and maintenance costs because when the tenants own their homes, there's our expense
grounds, right?
Yeah, our expense ratios are 30% typically. 30% of the gross income goes to expenses. That's your taxes, insurance, management. So it's just it could be easier to manage and easier to more reliable income, but there's still stuff that happens, and a good management company will stay on top of it.
Right. So you do use management companies. Now, is there usually someone that lives on site or no?
Yeah. So our management company's in-house. We're vertically integrated. We
Yeah.
manage all of our own stuff, and we'll have an on-site manager that's just part-time on-site, basically just our eyes and ears. Everything else is handled off-site, the organization.
Is that usually, I mean, when you say that, is that usually you get your lot rent for free? Is that kind of, or
Yeah,
you
lot
pay
rent for free, and we'll typically pay them like 15 bucks an hour.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Right. Everybody's, so it's a win for them too.
Oh yeah, and typically it'll be like the queen bee of the community that has the nicest home and is on Social Security, so they have fixed income and they're home all the time. That's typically who will make our manager, and they do such a great job.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so I mean, it can be intensive, but it doesn't, right? And I love that the part of you vertically integrated. We just did that this year for our apartment investing, and I think it's going to go down as 2023 was the best decision that I made, was to take all that stuff over, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Because property management, fee based, they never have good intentions with your money.
You're 100%.
They just
right.
don't care. They just don't care.
Yeah, it's all about time for them and how much time they got to dedicate to that. But when you own it, there's that extra white glove treatment that you're on it. You're taking that extra step.
You're going to make, hey, do we need to do this? Is this the right repair? Is there anybody that can do it cheaper? You're going to ask more better questions.
Yeah.
That's what I've found, right? And it's like, my God, I'm still reeling. I just yesterday I was doing financials on one property that we just took over, and I don't know how I didn't see this before, but like we spent $36,000 in snow removal, and it's one of the smallest properties that I've got, and the one that's like triple the size, it spent $20,000 for the whole year, and it's 3 times the size. And I'm like, oh Lord, who approved this, right?
Yeah, snow plowing is a big expense. I mean, yeah, it can add up quick.
So then let's talk about financing a little bit more, or the raising the money part of it. What kind of terms, or how do you usually structure a deal like that? Because I'm thinking like these are like long-term play. Do you ever want to sell these, or is it really just about getting them and operating for cash flow for long term?
That's what our model is buy and hold. There's other operators that have, a 5 or 7 year time horizon, and then they try to exit. But ours is, hey, we want to buy these things, refinance, pull out all the initial capital and maybe a little bit more at the refi point, and then lock in, long-term agency debt, 10-year loans on these things, and just keep 60% leverage on it every 10
And that
years.
lock-in period, is that when you're just going to cash out your investors too, right? Is that the goal?
So we actually don't cash out our investors. They stay in the deal on ours.
Back their money.
And they'll get a pref.
Yeah, and then they get a piece of it from here on out.
Exactly. Yep. They'll get a pref plus their money back, and then they get a piece of the equity into perpetuity.
Oh, beautiful, right? Yeah, I mean, that's a win-win. Like they're infinite returns at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, and the tax benefits of fully depreciating these things is huge as well. We're typically able to depreciate 75 to 80% of the purchase price, which is really good in today's day and age.
Yeah, no, that is beautiful. So yeah, so they get all the benefits of any other syndication type of product out there, and something that actually cash flows very well. So that's usually the biggest concern for them is, what am I going to make, right? Like how does this thing going to pay me? And you're like, no, this is the beauty of this model, is that it does spit off cash, lots of it. It's a higher cap rate.
It totally does. Yeah. And I mean, what we're targeting is like, off market, direct to owner deals, mom and pops, secondary markets, mainly throughout the Midwest, the high cash flow markets. You're not going to like triple the value of these things in a couple years. It's not like a play like that. It's a cash flow play. You're buying it for the income and what we can get the income to. It's not a huge appreciation play.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, cash flow is key. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody that's a fix and flipper out there, or buying and selling all the time, you're doing yourself a disservice, because I look back and I wish I would have never sold any of the ones that I sold, right? I still wish I had them, but sometimes you do to buy more cash flow. I get it, but that's got to be the key, because cash flow can weather any market cycle.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're in right now, is a market cycle that's kind of crazy. Now, the type of lending that you'd get on that is it Freddie Fannie, or is it initially a bridge, or is it initially like, what kind of lending on some of these parts
Yeah.
out
So
there?
typically, like we own a park just outside of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We'll find a local lender up there, local bank that'll finance us, typically 75% leverage, 10-year term, 5-year fixed rate. That's what we do going in. So that's our bridge facility,
Right.
but it's a 10-year term, 5-year fixed, and then adjust for another 5. So it's not like we're doing a true
You want to be able
bridge.
to have the ability to refi at that 5th year.
Exactly. That's the plan. And like if we can refi like the last couple of years, we've refied in 2 or 3 years, we're going to do that while interest rates are trying to go up on us. But yeah, the whole goal is to buy with those local banks, improve the property. Fannie and Freddie have specific guidelines of what they want these parks to look like. They need to be 90% or more occupied. They need to have less than 25% park-owned homes. They need to have paved off-street parking. They need to check all these boxes. The hitches have to be removed or covered. So we have all of that. And now we're just going to take that model and go to these properties, fix them all up, and get
Take the
them
next
so
5 years, whatever long it takes to get it to that spot. And you're like, all right, now we get the best financing out there. And we have a takeout. Everybody gets, we can get our investors back their principal. And now we're in it to win it.
And we're partnering with the government that is incentivizing affordable housing. So it's a win-win, and for the investors and the tenants, because Fannie's very strict. Like they do an engineering report of the property. They're going to make you fix your sidewalks if there's bumps in them, or if someone could trip and fall. They're going to make sure that you have everything, no deferred maintenance, which helps everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Which improves improves everything, right? So everybody gets to truly win in that scenario. Well, listen, man, I've learned a lot that I didn't know in this asset class. If people want to learn more about you and your company, where do they find you at?
Yeah, the best way would be on our website. It's keelteam.com. That's just KEELTEAM.com. You can fill out the contact form and get in touch with us there.
Awesome. So as we kind of wrap it up, a couple questions. If I always like any books that you've been reading lately that's really like, kind of turn the needle up a little bit, or something that you've really enjoyed reading lately.
Yeah, one that comes to mind is Leaders Eat Last. And that's just talking about servant leadership, and, building a team, based on that has been huge. Simon Sinek.
Yeah, awesome. I've not read that one, but I've heard a lot about it. So I'm gonna actually put that on my list, because I've heard so many good things, reviews on it so far. And then if you could give the listeners any advice, what would you tell them?
Man, I would say it's all about the deal. The money will come. I think people get caught up trying to have investors lined up before they actually have a deal. I would say, hey, go find a deal that's a really good one that you really believe in, and the money will flow. It's really about the deal first.
Yeah, the deal is the key crucial piece, because I know that there's lots of people, just like you said, you sat by a guy that has lots of money. Networking, I would say, would be the second biggest thing you can do, right? Yeah. Find a good deal and network your butt off, because there's someone that wants to finance that deal for sure, that has money. And what a great story. I would have never thought about, how quickly you've got a huge portfolio in a fairly short amount of time, probably without as much competition as a lot of others out there, because you're going direct and you're calling direct, and it's a much easier and nicer conversation. So kudos to you, brother. I think the Keel team may be onto something.
Oh, thank you, Corey. I'm a big fan, and really appreciate all the content you put out, man. And thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, awesome. Well, listen, guys, if you're listening right now, there's so many ways to make money in real estate. I swear to God, every time I do a podcast, I find something else. I'm like, rabbit. Maybe I need to go get into mobile home parks. Someone talked about self-storage the other day. I'm like, gosh, maybe I need to look into self-storage. But there's so many ways. And here's the truth is, find something that really works for you. Go at it with a lot of passion, and just work on it daily. And it's not rocket science, guys, but it does take a little bit of work, takes a little bit of ingenuity, but it takes a belief, guys. You got to start it in your mind first. Guys, if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.